Welcome, guys. Welcome to our show and welcome to my YouTube channel Think with Dinesh and जो हमारे साथ एक्स से जुड़े हैं उनका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे शो पे। आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे जो एक न्यू प्रेसिडेंट सेट हुआ है कि प्रेसिडेंट को ही उठा लो, कंट्री को तो बाद में पकड़ो, पहले प्रेसिडेंट को उठा लो। तो आज हमारे साथ जो हैं वो एक्सपर्ट हैं, मीन्स गीता मैडम, जो गीता कोचर जी हैं, जो जेएनयू में प्रोफेसर है। आप जानते हैं सब उनको, वेरी वेल नोन फिगर है और हम उनके साथ काफ़ी डिस्कशन में भी आ चुके हैं। मैडम आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है। और हमारे साथ हैं आईसी भाई,
Namaskar to your
जो
viewers and thank you very much.
जी, और हमारे साथ आईसी जी भी जुड़े हुए हैं। हम दोनों आज मैडम से कुछ डिस्कस करेंगे कि मैम ये सब क्या हो रहा है और इसका इफ़ेक्ट क्या होगा ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड। तो मैम अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर कमिंग टू माय शो एंड आवर शो, आई एम सॉरी, थैंक यू कमिंग टू आवर शो एंड आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है मैम।
Thank you very much and namaskar to all your viewers. तो बात करें कि भाई प्रेसिडेंट को उठा लिया गया, सोवरेनिटी की बात करने वाला एक कंट्री यूएस हु हैज defined this whole notion of sovereignty, international law, behavior. I mean, what kind of behavior are we talking about? ये कौन सा तरीका है कि आप एक इंडिपेंडेंट सोवरेन स्टेट के प्रेसिडेंट और उसकी वाइफ दोनों को वहां से ले जाते हो जस्ट बिकॉज यू वांट टू चेंज द प्रेसिडेंट। सी सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम जो मुझे इसमें नजर आती है कि इफ यू सी इन वेनेजुएला द पीपल देमसेल्व्स आर नॉट सपोर्टिव ऑफ व्हाट द यूएस इज डूइंग इन दिस कंट्री, राइट? एंड देयर इज अ क्लियर इंडिकेशन कमिंग फ्रॉम देम कि भाई ये सब कुछ जो हो रहा है ऑयल और मिनरल के लिए हो रहा है, और यूएस ने ऐसा पहले भी किया है। The only difference we were expecting with Trump coming to power was कि ट्रम्प जो है लास्ट टेन्योर में भी ये बोलता रहा कि वो पीस को एडवोकेट करता है और इसीलिए वो नोबेल पीस प्राइज की बात कर रहा था, और उसने बहुत बार ये स्टेटमेंट दिया कि मेरे टेन्योर में यूएस ने कोई भी वॉर वेज नहीं किया। देयर हैज बीन नेवर इन दिस इन हिज टेन्योर बेसिकली he has not waged any war against any country, और उसने नेगोशिएट कराया, पीस कराया है। और इस टर्म पे भी जब वो आया तो उसका फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट यही था कि मैं रशिया यूक्रेन का जो लड़ाई चल रहा है उसको खत्म कराऊंगा, मैं इसराइल और गाजा के बीच में अंडरस्टैंडिंग कराऊंगा। यहाँ तक कि उसने ये तक बोल दिया कि इंडिया पाकिस्तान की जो सीज फायर हुआ है वो उसने ही मीडिएट किया है। ओके, सो वी वर एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट अंडर ट्रम्प्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन यूएस जो है वो एक नए रूप में आएगा, और ये जो वॉर है, वॉर गेमिंग है, रियल वॉर एंगेजमेंट्स है जो कि पहले यूएस कर चुका है इराक में, अफगानिस्तान, सो मेनी कंट्रीज यू कैन जस्ट नेम इट एंड यू नो दैट। तो वो सब वो नहीं करेगा एंड इट वुड बी मोर अबाउट बिजनेस। ओके, आप बिजनेस लेके जाइए। और ये इनफैक्ट इस बार भी ट्रम्प जब आया तो जब वो सऊदी अरेबिया गया तो ये एक बहुत क्लियर इंडिकेशन मिला कि यूएस प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प वांट्स टू क्रिएट अ डील ऑफ बिजनेस रिलेशंस और डेवलपमेंट करना चाहता है पूरे वर्ल्ड का। लेकिन अब जो ये हुआ है जिसमें उसने ऑर्डर्स दिए कि आप जाइए वहां पे वेनेजुएला पे अटैक कीजिए, उसके बाद वहां से आई मीन ही हिमसेल्फ हैज stated in his ex tweet that the president and the wife has been taken in custody, and the process will follow. This is a unprecedented thing in his tenure, not in America's this thing, but in his tenure, and unprecedented for the whole world to realize that an independent country's president has been arrested while it is not even under the international court of justice जिसके लिए उन्होंने पुतिन जी को भी लेबल कर रखा है कि he needs to be arrested, वो भी नहीं हुआ है और ये डायरेक्ट एक अटैक की बात आप कर रहे हैं। So I don't know where this is going. If that is the way things are going to proceed, then the world has to be a little more careful about how things will evolve, not just in Europe, but even in the this part of the continent, that is Asia, right? And we need to see how things will evolve in terms of when US dominance, or so as to say the supremacy goes down, तो उस टाइम पे क्या होगा। ये चीजें मुझे लगता है कि सबसे ज्यादा स्कैरी एक पिक्चर क्रिएट कर रही हैं, एंड it doesn't give you a good thing about if things do not go as per US wish, then the changes can be really, really dramatic and scary. So I think this is what we need to really go into a detailed discussion. And the last thing that I want to put out here before others can speak on that is you know whether we are creating new kinds of behavior and norms in the international global arena. मतलब जो behavior और norms हम लोगों ने as under the United Nations as a collective entity हम लोगों ने जो भी discuss किए हैं उसको हम revise कर रहे हैं नहीं, और अगर कर रहे हैं तो किस ओर बढ़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि चाइना इसी चीज को चैलेंज करता है कि जो पुराने यूएस लेड नॉर्म्स थे, स्टेट बिहेवियर्स थे, उसको वो चैलेंज करके न्यू गवर्नेंस सिस्टम क्रिएट करना चाहता है। तो क्या ऐसा ही है, हो रहा है, और हमें उसके बारे में दोबारा विचार करने की जरूरत है? ये मेरे ख्याल से एक सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है हमारे पास। जी।
Yes, I see. You want to add something?
नहीं देखो, आ, ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा है जिस तरीके से इन्होंने इसके साथ किया। पहले थोड़ी एक जो हम ट्विटर पे थे तो डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि ये अगर आप इनका मॉडर्न वॉरफेयर देखेंगे तो ये बहुत ही, उस हिसाब से देखूंगा तो मैं कहूंगा ब्रिलियंट मूव बाय यूएस। उन्होंने पूरा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सर्वेलेंस किया, बाउंटी चढ़ा दी इसकी, और उसके बाद क्रैक्स क्रिएट करके कारपेट बॉम्बिंग करके और उसको उठा के ले गए। विन वन लेस देन कितना 6 घंटे में उन्होंने सब कुछ रैप अप कर दिया और कर दिया। अगर उससे देखूंगा स्ट्रेटेजिकली ब्रिलियंट मूव बाय यूएस, बट अगर मैं उसको देखूंगा फ्रॉम एंड फ्रॉम अ कंट्री परस्पेक्टिव, इट्स अ वेरी डेंजरस साइन कि यूएस इज द बिग बुली। वो तो पहले भी था बट अब तो हद से ज्यादा हो गया कि उसको कोई भी पसंद नहीं है। अब वेनेजुएला ने तो कुछ ऐसा किया नहीं था ना, इट इज नॉट अटैक, ना तो उसने जैसे कुवैत, ईरान ने तो कुवैत पे अटैक कर दिया था पूरा, ना उसने किया। वो अपनी जिंदगी जी रहे, पहले ही उसको तुमने पिछले इतने कितने 7-8 साल से तो तुमने उसे सैंक्शंस लगा रखे। उसके बाद अब तुमने पसंद नहीं आया। फॉर पीपल हु डोंट नो, वेनेजुएला allegedly has the world's biggest oil reserves, right? तो जहां जहां तेल वहां वहां यूएस। तो if anybody who is celebrating outside US, तो I will say कि apart if you are not part of the NATO country, भाई be worried। कल को अगर उसको आपके देश का भी प्रधानमंत्री पसंद नहीं आया या प्रेसिडेंट पसंद नहीं आया, वो तो अपने बंदे बेच के ये कर सकता है, वो बाउंटी चढ़ा देगा और ये कर देगा। दैट्स नॉट अ गुड साइन। देर आर वेज टू डील विद इट। यूएन एग्जिस्ट करता है, फोरम एग्जिस्ट करता है। अगर नहीं होता तो फिर वाई आर वी ऑल देयर? भाई इंडिया क्यों भाग रहा है कि भाई एक सीट के लिए? दैट्स वेयर आई एम थिंकिंग इट विल बी अ लॉन्गर डिस्कशन। मैं गीता जी से व्यूज लेना चाहूंगा।
You are absolutely right. I see. No, you are absolutely right about the fact कि वेनेजुएला ने कोई अटैक नहीं किया, उस पे आपने बहुत टाइम से सैंक्शन लगा रखा था। अगर आप लोगों को पता होगा, जब यूएस ने रशिया के ऊपर सैंक्शन लगाया और इंडिया के ऊपर ये प्रेशर किया कि हम रशिया से ऑयल ना लें, तो आवर एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर हैड क्लियरली मेड दैट स्टेटमेंट कि भाई आप वेनेजुएला की जो ऑयल है उसके सैंक्शन हटा दीजिए, एक मार्केट ओपन कीजिए तो हमारे को ऑल्टरनेटिव्स मिलेगा, राइट? तो आप ऑल्टरनेटिव्स भी नहीं दे रहे हो। सो यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट कि बहुत टाइम से उन्होंने वेनेजुएला पे सैंक्शन लगा रखा था, उसकी इकोनॉमी को बढ़ने नहीं देते। बट द फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इज दैट, एज आई सेड, कि ये जो अभी चेंज हो रहा है, आई मीन इट इज एन अनप्रेसिडेंटेड थिंग, बिकॉज यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि पहले जैसे कि इराक में उन्होंने बोला कि हमें न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स डेवलपमेंट का एक वो मिला है, सो वेपन्स ऑफ मास डिस्ट्रक्शन वाज द रीजन बिहाइंड इट। तो ऑफ कोर्स उसको बाद में आप लोगों ने डिनाई किया, रियलिटी सामने आई, बट एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू हैड अ कंक्रीट रीजन अबाउट स्टेट बिहेवियर। मतलब वो स्टेट किस तरीके से बिहेव कर रहा है, और उसकी अगर उसके पास वेपन्स ऑफ मास डिस्ट्रक्शन आते हैं तो फ्यूचर में एक थ्रेट बनता है कंट्रीज का। ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं है वेनेजुएला के साथ, तो ये सब चीजें जो है बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट है। आज ये नॉर्थ कोरिया के लिए यूएस बोल रहा है कि वो न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स का प्रोग्राम उसका बहुत चल रहा है, 6 पार्टी टॉक्स वगैरह सब हो चुके हैं, तो उस पे वो अटैक कर सकता है, ये एक पॉसिबिलिटी बन गई है, यू नो and what I see as more scary or more tension is कि आज अगर चाइना ताइवान के आसपास जो ड्रिल्स कर रहा है, ठीक है, वो क्लियरली ये इंडिकेशन दे रहा है कि यूएस जो है अटैक कर सकता है, नहीं कर सकता है। तो आज का ये जो एपिसोड हुआ है, इससे हमें पता चल रहा है कि अपनी सुप्रीमेसी को कायम रखने के लिए, यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड को इंटैक्ट रखने के लिए यूएस ऐसे कोई मेजर्स ले सकता है जो कि इंटरनेशनल नॉर्म्स में या उनके स्टेट एक्सेप्टेड जो हमारे यूनाइटेड नेशंस जो हम लोगों ने सेट किए हैं उसके अंडर नहीं आते। जबकि हम लोग ये बोल रहे हैं कि यूएन जो है थोड़ा सा डिफंक्ट हो गया, उसको रिफॉर्म की जरूरत है, बट वो जो रिफॉर्म की हम बात कर रहे हैं वो सिर्फ इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग अदर कंट्रीज लाइक यू नो हु हैव मोर पावर इकोनॉमिकली, उनके पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा है, उस टाइप की बात कर रहे हैं हम। इस चीज की बात नहीं कर रहे कि उनका जो नॉर्म्स है वो रिडेंडेंट हो गए या उनका जो जो गवर्नेंस सिस्टम है वो रिडेंडेंट हो गया। हम इसके ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा जोर नहीं देते, लेकिन अब हमें देना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि अगर जैसे कि हम लोग सब ये बात करें कि अभी हम एक ट्रांजिशन पीरियड में है, ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम अ यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड टू अ मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड, ओके, एंड दैट इज वेयर इंडिया इज ऑल्सो मूविंग कि मल्टी अलाइनमेंट कर रहा है, आप एक नया वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। एंड इस पे बहुत सारी चर्चा हो रही है कि किस टाइप का न्यू वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर आएगा, एंड वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू गो इन डिटेल्स ऑन दैट, बट ये जरूर है कि अगर मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड क्रिएट होता है, इट विल नॉट बी अ यूएस लेड multipolar world, it will be US as a part of that. So I think US is not satisfied with that. It is looking at how its dollar is going to be challenged in this year itself, okay. It is looking at how gold is going to be the other currency which is going to be important. Cryptocurrency is going to really change that. And some I heard about even the banking system of US is going to be flawed, like what happened in the Asian financial crisis. तो ये सब जो एक सिग्नल्स आ रहे हैं यूएस की अपनी सुप्रीमेसी को थ्रेटन कर रहे हैं, ओके। It is not that US is not capable in any sense. Militarily, it's still a very strong power, no denial to that. But अगर आप उस military power को misuse करते हैं, then how is it that you would question any other country, be it Iran, be it Turkey, be it North Korea, any other country? I mean to say, आप किस उससे उस पर सवाल उठाते हैं? यानी कि आज आप कैसे बोल सकते हैं कि रशिया ने जो यूक्रेन के साथ किया वो गलत है? आप तो खुद एक इस ट्रेंड को बना रहे हैं कि जो पावरफुल कंट्री है, जो मेजर पावर है, वो जिस टाइप का चाहे एक स्मॉल पावर के साथ बिहेव कर सकती है, और उसको स्ट्रीमलाइन करने के लिए आप जैसे बुली वर्ड यूज कर रहे हैं, मैं उसको सिर्फ बुली नहीं बोलूंगी, वो सिर्फ हेजेमोनिक एटीट्यूड नहीं है, इट्स अ वायलेंट एक्ट, इट्स अ वायलेंट एक्ट व्हिच नीड्स टू बी क्रिटिसाइज्ड इन ऑल इन ऑल फॉर्म्स। सो आप इस चीज को कैसे जस्टिफाई करेंगे कि दूसरी कंट्रीज ये नहीं करें? सी हम लोग जब एक ग्लोबल एरिना में बैठते हैं, ओके, सारी कंट्रीज को बुलाते हैं एक डिस्कशंस के लिए, जैसे कि आज की डेट में हम लोग चाइना के लिए भी हम डिस्कशन करने के लिए कह रहे हैं कि भाई चाइना शुड नॉट अटैक ताइवान, ओके, वायलेंट अटैक से उसको ताइवान वापस नहीं लेना चाहिए। तो हम लोग इस चीज को बेस लगते हैं कि भी देखिए आप मेजर पावर्स हैं, आपका बिहेवियर जो है इज इसेंशियल टू मेंटेन ग्लोबल पीस, नॉट जस्ट रीजनल पीस, ठीक है। तो अगर आपका बिहेवियर ऐसा होता है जो कि वायलेंट है नेचर में, विदाउट एनी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस होता है, कोई लॉज अबाइड नहीं होते हैं, उसके नॉर्म्स कोई सेट नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी आप कर रहे हैं, तो उस चीज को फिर आप दूसरों पे क्वेश्चन कैसे कर सकते? तो सवाल तो आप ही के ऊपर आ जाता है जो आप एक लीडर बने। देखिए हम लोगों ने जब एक्सेप्ट किया, आई मीन ऑल द कंट्रीज व्हेन दे एक्सेप्टेड अ यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड, दे एक्सेप्टेड द authority of US as a leader, in the sense कि it is not only going to provide public goods जो कि वो करता रहा है, but it is going to be a good leader to make balance in the world. So any country which is going rogue, as a rogue state, there are so many rogue states which US has identified. So any country which is going to go rogue, we will have sanctions on them, we will try to stop them from behaving in certain fashion. तो आज अगर यूएस ही ऐसे कर रहा है तो मेरे ख्याल से फिर सारी कंट्रीज को क्या यूएस के ऊपर सैंक्शन लगा देना चाहिए? आई मीन लीडर शुड बी setting as an example for other countries. So what is the example US is setting for other countries? That is the most important question I think we need to really answer. जी
नहीं, करेक्ट मैम, आपकी बात सही है। यस आई सी, सॉरी, please.
Sorry, अगर चाहिए, अगर if you have 2 minutes, then I can give you short bullet points of chronological order. मैंने निकाल दिया ये क्या किया था यूएस ने, कि on late
Absolutely.
early morning, for people who don't know, late early morning January 3rd 2026 around 2 a.m. local time, Caracas में there were multiple loud explosions and low flying aircraft were reported in Caracas. मैम अगर मैं वो वर्ड गलत बोल रहा हूँ करेक्ट कर देना. And surrounding areas. So strikes targeted military sites including, यार ये क्या है, फ्यूटेरे तिjuana, यार जो भी इनका वेनेजुएला का लार्जेस्ट मिलिट्री कॉम्प्लेक्स और airport, air bases and other installations. Resident reported plumes of smoke, fire and blackout. ये हो गया पहला. उसके बाद during the overnight operation, the US forces conducted a raid capturing President Maduro and his wife reportedly from their residence.
Yes.
तो the couple were then flown out of Venezuela. उसकी तो फोटो भी आ गई है. So early morning, January 3rd, around 4:30 a.m., वही same Venezuelan time, US President Donald Trump announced the operation on Truth Social, stating that the US has carried out a large-scale strike and Maduro and his wife has been captured and flown out of the country. और उसके बाद अभी भाई उनके जो वाइस प्रेसिडेंट है, he has come on the state TV stating कि भाई हमें नहीं पता इसके इन हस्बैंड वाइफ के वेयर अबाउट्स क्या है. एंड यूएस अटॉर्नी जनरल Pam Bondi announced a new or unsealed indicating against Maduro and on charges including narco terrorism. तो भाई एक कोई आ रहा है, मतलब sorry, new or unsealed indictment against Maduro. And last and final है, international relations followed with condemnations from allies like Russia, Iran and China and varied reports from others. इसमें इंडिया का क्या है गीता जी, अगर आप बता सके. And reports indicated that Maduro and his wife were en route or headed for New York to face trial. यार किस बेसिस पे, मतलब क्या ये यूएस ट्रायल करेगा, मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है, या ये इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस को देंगे, ये क्या है? विल द इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस इवन एग्री टू इट? मेरा दूसरा सवाल ये है इस पे. और इंडिया का क्या है, मतलब हैज इंडिया सेड एनीथिंग? this is
One more thing I have to add in this, which I see as a question, that reaction of China. China actually said that China is deeply shocked by and strongly condemned the US blatant use of force against the Soviet nation and action against its president. Such hegemonic acts of the US seriously violate international law and Venezuela's sovereignty and threaten peace and security of Latin America and the Caribbean region. So, China firmly opposes it. We call on the US to abide by international law and the purpose of and principle of the UN Charter and stop violating other countries' sovereignty and security. This is the reaction of China, ma'am. So, what's your view on this
हाँ.
overall? If you can
गीता मैम,
say
बिफोर यू
in
कंटिन्यू,
English.
किसी ने एक सवाल पूछा, लाइव है क्या? हाँ भाई, वी आर लाइव. हम कोई स्क्रिप्टेड काम नहीं करते हैं, वी आर लाइव. ये रिकॉर्डेड नहीं है. हम डरते नहीं है, गलतियां भी हम लाइव ही करते हैं. हाँ बस कंटिन्यू गीता मैम. मैं नीचे लोगों के, काफियों के कमेंट्स आ गए हैं. वेरी हैप्पी टू सी
Yeah, it's
लोगों के
so
कमेंट्स आ गए.
our
I'll keep
foreign
playing the comments.
some foreign viewership are also there. So let's cater that also. So we give in a response in our English language only, so that they can understand.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. If it
Okay.
is English, then we can continue in English. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2-3 things have come out. ICJ, as you said, International Court of Justice, whether they will put it there or not. As I said, in my initial remarks, the first thing that you really need to understand is it is not done under the ICJ thing. So now, if they put it in the ICJ, I don't know how the International Court of Justice is going to really take to it, and then what kind of process will be followed. So definitely, it is not a normal process that the ICJ follows. It would be a deviation of the entire process. Okay. The second thing is that how are we looking at this whole scenario in terms of whether when some of the countries like Russia, China has openly come and criticized literally showed a shock. That is what I'm saying, because see, it doesn't come under the international law or state sovereignty that you violated, because I mean, one of the things which we really need to see and understand is the change that we are talking about, or the unprecedented thing that we are talking about, also relates to our area of influence. Say for example, I'm talking about South Asia, right? When things happened in Bangladesh and Yunus came to power, after all the discussions that we had, one of the things that we were discussing was the covert operations of CIA in Bangladesh, right? Which led to this kind of chaos in Bangladesh, and Yunus is into power, and now again the chaos is continuing, right? But that was like a covert operation of the US. Okay, so in that terms, we can always say that US has been playing certain hands in glove with certain people and trying to really change the regime. Okay, so regime change has been a norm of the US, but in Bangladesh it was again a covert operation. With this thing, what happened in Venezuela, one thing is very clear, that US is not just going to be indulging in covert operations, it is going to have an overt action on the things US deems as not right or not justifiable, or it thinks that it needs to punish somebody and change the regime. So regime change was already a point that US was talking about in Venezuela. So if it was not successful in covert operations, it has acted on a overt operation. Okay, that is one thing which we need to understand. Now, in terms of India, I think India is also going to join the same camp of criticizing it, and saying that whatever happened is not very healthy in terms of how international law functions. We need to have some basic understanding about how each country is governed, especially when we talk about sovereignty of a state. Because even in India, we have found out many incidences where we found that CIA has played a role, especially the covert role, in creating turmoil within our country, right? So if tomorrow US thinks that our Prime Minister Modi is not doing the things which US wants, and because the sanctions and the deal which we are negotiating with the Americans are not functioning, so will the US just think about, okay, let's take this Prime Minister out? I mean, attack India and pick the Prime Minister? That is not the way for any country. I mean, I'm saying US should function. So I think India is going to definitely um, criticize this whole act, but and would call for maintaining peace and order, so that a stability is maintained in Venezuela, and peace is prevailing among all the players of the global world. And one of the things I think India is really going to raise is about how each country should not feel threatened of US position in the global world. Because today what we are going to really think of is, maybe a major power is able to challenge, like Russia was able to challenge America. Okay, when Americans said no, Putin has to be arrested, and ICJ has passed and all of that, Russia could still continue with this. It could stop NATO from expanding. It could, challenge whatever US is doing. It really averted all the sanctions that US put in. But a small power, say, be it Nepal. Nepal is also facing this kind of problem when we had the Gen Z movement
mm,
in just our neighborhood. Okay, there are all kinds of reports about American hand in that. So if Nepal tomorrow thinks that no, it doesn't want to accept this kind of thing, will the US again take a harsh stand, a very overt action against the people of Nepal, or the prime minister or the president of Nepal? Will that be the case? Same thing can happen even in Pakistan. I mean, we are seeing chaos happening in Pakistan. Now what? I mean, okay, today US is very happy with Pakistan because Pakistan is doing whatever the Americans want. But if tomorrow Pakistan joins the camp of China, especially because China Pakistan relations are very close, and China is really helping Pakistan in ways beyond anybody can think. Even today, when the justice mission exercise happened, it was Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, which was openly supporting Pakistan, right? Sorry, supporting China. right?
Correct.
So if that happens, I mean, will America punish Pakistan in the same manner as it did to Venezuela? What then? You see, we had seen the same problem even in Afghanistan. I mean, Afghanistan is again a case in point where the regime change did happen, and they wanted to create the democratic system. There was an entire chaos for decades. The military was deployed in Afghanistan, and what happened later? I mean, we find the Americans suddenly left. The country was completely in chaos. Okay, so I mean, if this is what will happen to every state, all the small state will feel threatened about their own position. So I think India is also not going to be very supportive of this action.
इसमें
Definitely it
एक
will. Yeah,
एक
please.
कंट्रोवर्शियल सा क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ। मेरे से ये किसी ने ना एक बारी पूछा था और मैंने जवाब दिया था, बड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल हो गया था। किसी ने पूछा था कि ये ईरान की न्यूक्लियर न्यूक्लियर रजीम जो है, जो न्यूक्लियर डेवलपमेंट जो ये करते हैं, एंड इस पे व्हाट इज माय व्यू। तो मैंने कहा था आई वोंट टॉक अबाउट ईरान पर से, आई विल टॉक अबाउट इन जनरल, लुकिंग एट द करंट सिचुएशन, for a country to be feeling safe, I think it is best that the country have their nuclear program. Because जिस चीज का न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम है उसे तंग नहीं करते बड़े कंट्री। ये नॉर्थ कोरिया देख लो, उसको क्यों नहीं तंग करता, वो पता है उसके पास न्यूक्स है, राइट। तो मैं तो कहता हूँ फॉर सेल्फ प्रिजर्वेशन आई थिंक इंडिया ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया कि न्यूक्लियर हो गया। एंड मेरे को पर्सनली पूछोगे तो आई थिंक द बिगेस्ट फूल आउट ऑफ ऑल द कंट्रीज वो है, उसका नाम है साउथ अफ्रीका, जो एक लौती कंट्री है जो न्यूक्लियर होने के बाद डीन्यूक्लियराइज होगी। वो अलग बात है, उनके पास बड़े क्रूड से न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स थे, बट बिफोर द अपार्थाइड एंडेड दे बिकेम डीन्यूक्लियराइज्ड। वो भी बड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल है, उसपे वो उनके लोग कहते हैं कि द व्हाइट्स डिड नॉट थिंक दैट वी विल बी एबल टू होल्ड द सीक्रेट्स, एंड उन्होंने इसलिए अंडर द प्रेशर ऑफ यूएस एंड यूके डीन्यूक्लियराइज कर दिया। वो चलो मैं उसमें नहीं घुसूंगा, बट मैं अगर नॉर्थ कोरिया को देखता हूँ, उसको आज तक क्यों नहीं किसी ने अटैक किया? यूएस तो आराम से कर सकता, उनका अपना न्यूक्लियर रिजिम। हाँ, उनके पास एक अम्ब्रेला है चाइना का, बट स्टिल वो तो बिल्कुल ही बॉर्डर भी है बगल में ही नॉर्थ और साउथ कोरिया का। ऐसा तो है नहीं ना कि कोई दूर भी जाना है, वहां तो उसके यूएस की बहुत बड़ी वो भी खड़ी हुई है, तो क्यों नहीं करते? बिकॉज इट्स अ डेटरेंट। मैं तो कहता हूँ कि इट्स अ डेटरेंट। इट्स अ वेरी, इफ यू लुक एट इट, ये तो वापस गोइंग बैक टू द न्यूक्लियर आर्म्ड रेस, बट लुकिंग एट द सिचुएशन राइट नाउ, तो मुझे तो लगता है कि अगर कोई कंट्री, अगर ईरान अपना वो प्रोग्राम कर रही है, मैं तो कहता हूँ कि भाई जल्दी कर लो अगर तुम्हें बचना है। अदरवाइज तो यूएस ने तो थ्रेट दे दी अब ईरान को कि अब अगले तुम ही हो। तो वो व्हाट्स योर व्यू ऑन दैट?
Okay, so similarly, I'm not going to specifically say about Iran, but the fact that you're saying a nuclear deterrence thing or leading to a nuclear arms race, absolutely true. I mean, there is already a debate across the globe, including in Japan, which has written in the constitution that will never develop, nuclear weapons because of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attack that they suffered and the generations of the people of Japan suffered. Today they are really rethinking over it. There is a debate within Japan also that whether they should develop their nuclear weapons or not, because it's going to be a strong deterrence against China, which is a very powerful country. So every country is now thinking about uh, you know going towards a deterrence policy that is only based on how much strong weapons that they have, and what are their capabilities in terms of especially in terms of nuclear capabilities, right? And if that is there, I think they would be able to counter any kind of unwarranted and unnecessary pressure that comes from a foreign state, right? I think in 1998, when India launched that, India went for nuclear weapons. The the premise on which India went for nuclear weapons was also that it faced a severe threat from the major power next door, that is China, which had the nuclear weapons since 60s, right? Since 64 or something, right? So, so nuclear deterrence for us was
चाइना वाज द लास्ट कंट्री, उसके बाद सब उन्होंने अपना वो क्लब बना दिया और फिर वो हो
absolutely,
गया। हाँ,
absolutely.
चाइना था या फ्रांस होगा, चाइना या फ्रांस था लास्ट कंट्री,
नो नो,
क्योंकि
चाइना
फ्रांस
चाइना
इतना कुछ
चाइना
डेवलप किया था।
China,
हाँ
China.
चाइना।
So, so,
हम्म,
so, so what my point is that, even that point, we also understood this point that if we want to defend our country, if we want to be capable enough to be having a strong deterrence against a power, then we need nuclear weapons. And if you see, at that point of time, Pakistan also was supported by China to create their nuclear weapons, right? Almost at the same time. And if we would not have created nuclear weapons at that point of time, we would not have developed the capability of having nuclear weapons at that point of time, we would be at threat in today's case. I mean, when Operation Sindoor happened, we all know about what happened during Operation Sindoor, right?
अच्छा
So,
मैं एक क्वेश्चन इसी पे ही पूछूंगा बिफोर वी गो हेड, सॉरी मैं इंटरप्ट कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज आपने एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बोली जो मैं एग्री करता हूँ, बट एक बहुत बड़ा तबका है इंडिया में, स्पेशली लीनिंग टुवर्ड्स कांग्रेस, वो बड़े नाराज हो जाएंगे आपकी स्टेटमेंट पे। आपने कहा 90s में हमने न्यूक्लियर बनने की कोशिश करी, क्योंकि उनके हिसाब से तो हमने स्माइलिंग बुद्धा में ही हम न्यूक्लियर पावर बन चुके थे। सो विल इट बी राइट फॉर मी टू से कि जब हमने स्माइलिंग बुद्धा किया था, क्योंकि हमने अपना इतना न्यूक्लियर क्लीन नहीं था हमारा, बट डर्टी न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल था, वी the test was basically not a success in terms of the nuclear explosion हुआ था, बट वो जो किलो न्यूटन यील्ड होती है वो सब पार थी, एंड इसीलिए वी कैन नॉट क्लेम टू बी न्यूक्लियर की। तब कब हुआ था, 71 में हुआ था, कब हुआ था, आई एम ट्राइंग टू रिमेम्बर 70। हाँ, तो तब हम न्यूक्लियर मतलब वी हैडंट रीच्ड दैट लेवल, तो हम अपने आप को तब क्लेम नहीं कर सकते जब हमने पोखरण में फिर से किया द सेकंड टाइम वाजपेयी जी के अंडर। दैट वाज द टाइम वी रियली बिकेम, बिकॉज हमने तो कितने वो 2 दिन धमाका वो धमाके ही कर दिए। जब यूएस ने शोर नहीं बचाया तो वाजपेयी जी ने कहा हाँ आगे भी करते रहो, तो मतलब बहुत सारे कर दिए थे फिर तो। साथ में किसी कंट्री के आईडी भी टेस्ट हो गए थे, अब मैं नाम नहीं लूंगा, वो बड़ा फेमस डायलॉग बोलता हूँ, आप गूगल कर लीजिए कौन सी कंट्री के हमने टेस्ट किए थे। वो बाकी अब गीता में हंसने लग गई और समझ गई क्या बोल रहा हूँ। बट would that be correct that we really became nuclear in the late 90s and not in the 70s as what a lot of Congresses claim in terms of in reality, because वो नहीं था success,
see,
smiling Buddha was not
that
success.
that is why I said having nuclear weapons and having a strong capability of deterrence with nuclear power is a different thing, right? आपके पास nuclear weapons हैं, आज तो ईरान के लिए भी बोलते हैं कि nuclear weapons हैं, बट उसका उतना capability है कि वो deterrence कर सके, that is the most important thing. If you can, then that deterrence is the capability which can be challenged by, which can challenge any strong power. I mean, that
Correct,
is a
correct.
strong deterrence. तो वो
And
चीज आपका
also
90s में ही हुआ है।
हाँ, एंड ऑल्सो वो कहते हैं कि जो पहली अग्नि मिसाइल थी वो किसके अंडर हुआ था, राजीव गांधी, आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। जो पहली मिसाइल लॉन्च करी थी हमने अपनी इंडिजिनस, वो राजीव गांधी के अंदर करी थी, किसके अंदर करी थी? उसमें भी यूएस का बहुत बड़ा प्रेशर आया था कि भाई नहीं करो। एक बहुत बड़ा एक फेमस है वो अब्दुल कलाम जी का एक डायलॉग बिटवीन अब्दुल कलाम जी एंड टीएन सेशन, एंड वो पीपल डोंट रियलाइज टीएन सेशन था उनके साथ। तो टीएन सेशन जी को बड़ा ही एक बोला गया था कि भाई ये यूएस से बड़ा प्रेशर आ रहा है एंड इसको मत करो, इसको आगे नहीं करो। तो उसने कहा था अच्छा ठीक है सर मैं बात करता हूँ। तो टीएन सेशन साहब ने फोन किया कलाम साहब को, नोइंग दैट कि ये कॉल मॉनिटर्ड होएगी। हाँ, तो उन्होंने बोला था कि आई विल पैराफ्रेज इट, आई एम नॉट एग्जैक्टली श्योर, अगर आपको याद है तो वो बोल देना कि इज द लॉन्च इमिनेंट और समथिंग लाइक दैट। और उन्होंने कहा कि is the launch imminent and not possible to stop, and he said yes it obviously kalam sahab samajh ke kya bol rahe, yes okay then I'll inform him in the morning। और उन्होंने सुबह 7 बजे कर दिया, इन्होंने 9 बजे उनको फोन किया, नहीं सर लॉन्च तो हो गया, अब मिसाइल तो चल गई अब हवा में। तो दैट इज हाउ हमारे हमारे कभी कभी ब्यूरोक्रेट्स भी कभी अच्छे वाले होते हैं, तो वो भी कुछ काम कर देते हैं जो अदरवाइज अगर सुन लेते तो नहीं होता। उसके बाद देखो अब तो अग्नि 5, अग्नि NG 9, ब्रह्मोस के बाद तो The world is talking about the precision we have. Not even a lot of the other countries also don't have the precision which we have had. Considering
Yes.
हमारे को इतना एडवांस नहीं माना जाता था, so that has become a serious deterrent even for China. एंड उसके बाद तो वो उनके PL-15 कुछ मिसाइल भी आ गए हैं, उसको हमने खोल के देख लिया, कुछ उधर से भी हम सामान निकाल लेंगे, जो चाइना करता है अब हम वो भी कर रहे हैं। दे सेड रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग, हम 3 चीजें उधर से आया है, आई डोंट रिमेंबर एग्जैक्टली, बट 3 चीजें हम उधर से कॉपी कर रहे हैं शेमलेसली बता के, और इतने बेशरम है हम कि जब PL-15 गिरे, ऐसे 2 तो इनको पूरे साबुत मिले, कोई कहता है 3, 2 तो साबुत मिले, तो दे सेड कि सबसे पहले आया शोर, इफ आई टेल यू, ताइवान, आओ आओ जरूर देते। इसराइल का तो इसराइल आया था, इसराइल को हाँ तुझे भी बुलाते। उसका पीछे से आया जापान, भाई मेरे को मत भूलो, हाँ तू भी आ जा। उसके बाद आप देखो जापान एक चीज है, वो बड़ा तमीजदार नेशन है। उसके बाद उन्होंने कहा कि आपको इंजन चाहिए, हमने नया इंजन डेवलप किया, आपको स्पेक्स तक दे देंगे अगर आपको चाहिए। वो हमने लिया नहीं, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग, बट वी माइट टेक इट इन फ्यूचर। बट उन्होंने कहा कि हम तुम्हें स्पेक्स भी दे देंगे, ब्लूप्रिंट यू कैन क्रिएट देम, उसको उसका जो किलो न्यूटन का जो है वो अप एंड डाउन भी तुम कर सकते हो, वो तो आगे का भी है। सो ये भी होता है। दिस इज द एडवांटेज व्हेन वंस यू बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट, and once you become independent, then the world starts looking at you at a very different lens instead of अब देखो जैसे वर्ल्ड्स बिगेस्ट बायर, इंडिया नंबर 2 पे आता है, नंबर 1 पे आता है सऊदी अरेबिया, राइट? बट सऊदी अरेबिया क्या है, टुमारो अगर वो कोई वॉर हो गई और यूएस ने हाथ खड़े कर दिए, मैं आगे नहीं दे रहा हूँ, कुछ नहीं कर सकते, राइट? इट विल बी
So
स्क्रैम्बलिंग
it's the same
फॉर वेपन।
situation is Israel also, na? That US ने जो बोलता है Israel has to follow it because he is providing the weapon,
इज दैट सो?
which Israel,
इज दैट
yeah,
सो?
yeah,
Yeah,
Israel
but
Prime Minister
no, no, no.
Netanyahu जी ने भी बोला था, so
Israel and US relations are completely different. See, the banking system of US is also controlled by the Jews. So, I mean, it's not exactly what Saudi Arabia and
नहीं नहीं,
US
वो बहुत अलग है,
yeah.
वो बहुत अलग है। अगर आप देखोगे जब भी कोई ये इनका ये मिसाइल फायर होती है ना, मतलब आयरन डोम हो गया या पैट्रियट थर्ड हो गया, 50% ऑफ द बिल इज फुट इन बाय यूएस, ठीक है? अदरवाइज तो सरवाइव नहीं कर पाएंगे। एंड
yes, 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 it's
एक तो बैंकिंग सिस्टम तो खैर, वो कहते हैं ना यहूद और हनूद की साजिश, एक यूज करते हैं टर्म। तो एक ने वो कहते हैं कि यहूद ने बैंकिंग सिस्टम कैप्चर कर दिया, हनूद ने सारा कष्ट, वो क्या कहते हैं, बाकी सिस्टम कैप्चर कर दिया। तो कह रहे इंडियंस और यहूदियों ने हमारे को जकड़ लिया है इन मॉडर्न टाइम्स, तभी कहते हैं यहूद और हनूद की साजिश। बट उसमें देखो यूएस का आप नहीं कह सकते, बिकॉज एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम एटलीस्ट 10% ऑफ द सेनेटर्स आर ऑफ जूइश डिसेंट। उनका एक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रेजेंस है यूएस में। एंड आप कभी भी देखो, अब अगेन एक कंट्रोवर्शियल बोलूंगा, गीता जी आपको अगर वो होगा, इनके ना बड़े की पोजीशंस पे या इनके बंदे होते हैं, ये बंदों के पार्टनर होते हैं। अब अभी देख लो, एक बड़ा की पोजीशन पर कोई बंदा है फ्रॉम सम डिसेंट, मैं गूगल कर लेना, उसकी पार्टनर जो है आधी उम्र की, वो एक जूइश है। अब वो गैस कर लो कौन है, मैं तो बोलूंगा नहीं, अब गीता जी फिर हंस रही है। तो देख लो, ऐसे ही होता है, ऐसे ही होता है।
yes,
They are
yes.
very smart at it.
Okay,
I'll give them full marks for it.
absolutely, absolutely. No, I see, but you are correct. But back to the topic, ma'am. What's its effect? Side effect, domino effect, we can say that the world has changed. It is not like in 80s and 90s. So, US can go anywhere and just try to change everything, or in the early 2000. But now the time has changed. There are multi-power, we can say multipolar world. It has already begun, and many powers have come up, like China or India or Russia is already there. But India is a Budka desh, so we cannot expect something from India right now, which we also want. But our prime minister is Budka desh is going on. So, what's your view on the domino effect of this? That on the other part of the world, how they will react and how Russia will react, Putin will react. that Putin has been criticized for this only. So
Hmm.
how
तो वो आ गया,
he will
किसी ने बोला है प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प इज गोइंग टू एड्रेस इन
yes
5 मिनट्स। ओ भाई,
5 minutes.
जितेंद्र जी जरा हमें सिनॉप्सिस लिखते रहे ना, इसका कि वो क्या लिख रहे हैं, मैं भी सर्च कर लूंगा, सो वी कैन वी कैन
Yeah,
वी कैन
guys,
पिक इट
please
अप
let
लाइव।
us know what President Trump is saying. So we will discuss here only itself. We will give the review of that
इसमें
discussion.
इसमें
So no
बिफोर
issue.
गीता जी कंटिन्यू ना, मैं दो कमेंट्स किसी ने लिखे हैं कि 1974 में सक्सेसफुल किया था, बट दे डिड नॉट हैव द कैपेबिलिटी टू बिल्ड अ बॉम्ब। दैट्स करेक्ट, द यील्ड वाजंट दैट मच, बिकॉज प्राइमरली बिकॉज वी डिड नॉट हैव 90 सी 95% होता है या 98% होता है, गीता जी इफ यू कैन करेक्ट मी ऑन दैट, वी वर मच लेस देन दैट, वो जो प्योर यूरेनियम होता है। अब तो खैर यूरेनियम
99.
प्लूटोनियम वगैरह दो तीन हाँ, नहीं 99 नहीं 98 भी चल जाता है आपका, बट इट इज वी डिडंट हैव द
Correct.
टेक्नोलॉजी टू क्रिएट टू हैव दैट क्लीन दिस
Uh,
एंड
Payload deliver. We didn't have the capability to deliver the payload also.
Hmm.
वो डेवलप हो जाती है। द बिगेस्ट इशू इज हाउ टू क्लीन यूरेनियम, क्लीनिंग इज द बिगेस्ट इशू ना, मतलब आपका दैट इज वन ऑफ द
Yes,
बिगेस्ट
yes, yes.
इश्यूज यू हैव। हाँ, दैट
Hmm.
इज एंड वी हैव डेवलप्ड इट नाउ। वो होमी
I think China is able to do
होमी
99.9%.
Yes.
चाइना तो बहुत एडवांस्ड है
Yeah,
यार,
yeah.
चाइना चाइना वो
France,
तो हाँ।
France is the most
99
advanced
point
country in nuclear power, we can say. France is the most
99.99 तो
advanced now.
शायद yeah.
वो
Okay, ma'am.
अच्छा, वो
So
किसी ने ये
on
भी
the
बोला
question
था,
part, ma'am.
वो अग्नि वाज लॉन्च्ड ऑन दिस अंडर राजीव गांधी ही था, तो आई वाज करेक्ट ऑन दैट वन, राजीव गांधी। हाँ मैम, प्लीज
Correct.
कंटिन्यू।
So, ma'am, on the question about the dominoes effect of this and how Putin will react and all, they have condemned already. But what's your view?
So see, I think there are two things that are going to happen. One of the things in this year itself, what we are going to see, as I said, there is a inevitable decline of the supremacy of US, which is now pushed forward by the action that US has taken. हो सकता था कि बहुत सारी कंट्रीज आज भी उस सुप्रीमेसी, उस लीडर को एक पोजीशन पे रहने देती, and considering that US has the nuclear military capabilities, we would have accepted the supremacy of US, and not has to change that. So US has already pushed that into further expediting that. uh, you may be saying we are already a multipolar world, but we will be expediting to create a multipolar world, I would say that. Okay, तो वो एक एक्सपेडिशन जो है, वो एक जो स्पीड आपने पुश कर दिया है, वो एक चीज होगा। दूसरी चीज जो होगा, ऑफ कोर्स, I mean, there would be a clear cut, division among states now, in the sense of who would be aligned with the US and who would be against the US. Okay, you would find that as a very clear cut indication that might come up within few months, and the world would be now divided. I mean, already we had a superficial kind of a thing, that we have an understanding, or the undercurrent that was flowing, where we thought, okay, there are these people, there are these countries who are supporting NATO, there's these countries who are with with America and all of that. There would be a clear cut division. Even in European countries, you would find that division coming out very clearly when these countries will start criticizing the America for what action America has taken. You would understand where the world is moving. So you will know that who are the powers who would align with the world, Russia and China, and the BRICS countries, so to say, are planning to create, and who are the countries who are going to align with US and its allies, and the NATO and everything, right? So that kind of division would be very clearly visible with the action that will happen. Now, in terms of criticism, of course, as you said rightly, Putin has already criticized, China is criticizing. There may be harsh words in which they may be criticizing, but the fact is that this criticism itself is not enough. What would be required is what actions these countries will take against this kind of attitude, or the violent ways in which US has behaved. I think we need to see that. In terms of India, as you're saying, okay, India is Buddha Desh, absolutely right. We do not want to wage a war. We do not support any kind of violent action by any state. We have been advocating for peace and dialogue between Russia and Ukraine. We might say the same thing for even US, but the problem out here is that how do you ask for a dialogue between two powers or two states when one side is not even attacking the other side? You see, I mean, there is no space now left for Venezuela to collect their, defense forces and attack, launch a counter attack, or at least try to defend themselves when the leader itself is taken away. You see, and even before that, the Venezuela was not attacking or did not launch any kind of military invasion, or so to say, or any kind of violent behavior that was visible from their side. So what kind of a dialogue are we going to ask for is one of the problems Indian government is going to face. The only thing I think Indian government will take as a stand is that it will come out and say that we want peace and sovereignty of every state to be remain intact. Stability needs to be maintained in every country, and it is not right on the part of America to act like this without going through a proper process. I think it's a very, very tough situation for even India to choose a side for not supporting America and yet being in this position.
Okay, ma'am. I am sharing this opposition leader who has recently got the Nobel Prize, Maria Corina. Okay, so now we know why she got the Nobel Prize. So it's one of the proof that the reason she got the Nobel Prize, and she has said that the hour of freedom has arrived. So it's
हाँ,
clear cut. We can say, yeah, ma'am. Please.
so as I said, Bangladesh ka jo ek example hai, that is why I gave you that example. I mean, in Bangladesh it was something like a covert operation. In Venezuela it's an overt operation. It's a
Over.
absolutely an open act, you know where there is nothing to hide. I mean, यहाँ पे भी तो आप यूनुस को नोबेल पीस प्राइज मिला हुआ है, आपने बिठा दिया उसको. अब वो चाहे हर दूसरे दिन कुछ ना कुछ क्योस क्रिएट कर रहा है, इलेक्शंस नहीं होने दे रहा, all that kind of things, and very ruthless statements coming from their leaders and other people, um, even calling India as an enemy state. I mean, what else can you expect from a thankless state like Bangladesh? You see, so so I think the same thing is coming up in Venezuela in a very open and candid manner for people to see.
अच्छा, दो
Absolutely.
So
चीजें
there
But
is no
now
इसका
one more thing I have to share. One more post. This is from
अच्छा,
Lindsey Graham. To my Chinese friends, in case you were planning to follow up meeting with Maduro, he has a new address now. It will be difficult to schedule another appointment, but now I know he means a lot to you. Good luck. Oh, by the way, quit propping up narco terrorist dictator like Maduro. ठीक है? Quit buying oil from Putin. That is keeping his war machine flush with cash, and reconsider propping up the Ayatollah in Iran, a religious Nazi, by buying his oil. So he has directly attacked the China. तो मैम चाइना के ऊपर आ गया ये, एंड एज आई सेड दैट इट विल अफेक्ट चाइना अ लॉट, दैट वेनेजुला ऑयल चाइना इज बाइंग
because
वेनेजुला
अभी
ऑयल.
मैंने एक न्यूज सुनी थी कि वो कह रहे थे कि चाइना की बात हो गई थी यूएस के साथ, और यूएस ने बोला था कि चाइना डजंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट दे कैन कंटिन्यू बाइंग ऑयल फ्रॉम वेनेजुएला. ये किसी ने मुझे बोला था बिफोर कमिंग. आई हैव नॉट चेक्ड इट, so it can be false or it can be true, so I can check it. हाँ, नहीं गीता मैम आप बोलिए. उसके बाद में प्रेसिडेंट
नहीं नहीं
ट्रम्प ने 42 मिनट्स पहले एक स्टेटमेंट मारा था, उसकी आवाज में सुनाता हूँ आपको.
नहीं, वो आप जो बात बोल रहे हैं, that is absolutely right. In fact, entire delegation went to Venezuela and had almost 3 hours of discussions before this news came out and this action had taken place. So I think uh, probably the US finally assured the Chinese, yes, you will not be affected, your oil will continue to come. Otherwise, I mean, if US takes an action, it might take in terms of what China has done in terms of the silver exports. तो बहुत सारे ऐसे न्यूज भी आ रहे हैं कि because China has taken stop the export of silver to US might take retaliatory action. It could also be about the Venezuelan oil. It could be other way of silver exports to China or something like that. So it depends upon the retaliatory action US will take. But as of now, they have assured no, nothing of this sort will happen. So let's see.
देखो ट्रम्प ने कहा I'll try to imitate his voice. We were prepared to do a second wave. We were all set. This was so lethal, so lethal. This was so powerful that we didn't have to. तो बस ये उन्होंने
I
बोला है
can
कि
tell
उन्होंने
you,
दूसरे
I can tell you to all my United States that we are so powerful, we can invade any country and we can arrest anyone. So don't mess with United States of America. We are the great United States of America. And I am the president of the United States of
चल हम दोनों
America.
ही बहुत बेकार एक्टिंग करते हैं एनीवेज नहीं बट ठीक
ठीक है,
है सो
बोलेगा तो यही।
इसने नहीं दोनों ही बेकार नहीं बट ही वाज प्लानिंग सो देखो दो तीन चीजों में मान लेता हूँ इसकी कि इसने ईरान पे भी बॉम्बिंग करी और करी बेशक उनको बता के करी हो जो भी करी हो इसने भेजे अपने बॉम्बर वो करी और उसके बाद ईरान कुछ कर भी नहीं पाया रिटेलिएशन में ठीक है सो और ये अब इसने people are talking now this is the important thing Venezuela has fallen ठीक है now people are saying कि Iran will be next I don't think so Iran is not a small nation and not a weak nation Iran के पास enough of arsenal है the people of Iran, they may be unhappy with the current regime, but they will definitely not like. ये मेरा व्यू पॉइंट है गीता जी आप मेरे को कर सकते हैं कि they would not like US to meddle with it. They would want the regime to be destabilized internally by them because I don't think वहाँ हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन चल रही है सब कुछ चल रही है आपको क्या लगता है will Iran be next in this whole gamut?
No, I don't think because US can always play, and it is already doing that with Pakistan to play that game in with Iran. So I think it is not Iran as the next thing. But in terms of what you're saying about Venezuela, one of the things that is very important of what will happen in Venezuela. Okay, the regime has fallen, but because people are not supportive of this kind of a sudden action by a foreign force, to maintain the stability of Venezuela is going to be very crucial. Whether people will come on streets, protest against a new leader which is being placed, or what will happen, because that is the most important concern that we need to have today, because it is going to impact the life of common people out there. There will be complete chaos as I see. And even if abhi Dinesh wo jo dikha raha tha, that that person is going to be placed because usko Nobel Peace Prize mila, whatever. I mean, I don't know, because Trump तो खुद अपने Nobel Peace Prize लेना की कोशिश करता रहा, उसको खुद को नहीं मिला. So I don't know whether he was supportive of giving this or not. Yet, I mean, if the person, any other person, is placed in this position, definitely the chaos or the madness that is going to run among the people of Venezuela is worrisome.
अच्छा किसी ने सवाल पूछा As USA has started focusing on South America, making it difficult for China to get natural resources, how China will ensure that its lithium sourcing from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile is uninterrupted. यार मेरे हिसाब से तो वो खुद ही लिथियम प्रोवाइडर थे यार वो ठीक है वो उधर भी है बट उनके तो अपने रिजर्व है लिथियम के उनके तो अपने अच्छे खासे रिजर्व है आई डोंट थिंक या दे कैन गेट मोर बट आई थिंक गीता मैम उनके अपने रिजर्व है ना लिथियम के वो रेयर अर्थ में तो वो लीडर थे I think they have yes for more EV like BYD and this they definitely need more and especially I don't think China is that interested in mining lithium in their own backyard because lithium mining is one of the most dirtiest mining. So मजबूरी होगी तो करना वापस शुरू करते हैं.
They've already shifted their factories to Cambodia. And हम लोगों ने किया ना दिनेश एक पूरा
Hmm.
discussion किया है उस पे rare earth पे.
Yes, yes, yes.
People can
Yes.
just
Hmm.
go and watch that
You
as
can
well. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I can provide the link in the comment section after this video, that you can or in the
Hmm.
description you can watch that
Mm.
video, that on the rare earth. That was a fantastic discussion, and it has a very good view. So good number of views, so you can see that. Okay, ma'am.
Mm.
So we are going to the end phase of our discussion. Um Now, actually, the question is how left will react. Actually, whenever this president goes to, like, Bush has gone, or Obama has done a lot of things, and bombed the six countries, six Arabic country, Islamic countries, or everything he has done, and left has supported that he is the president of the United States, and United States has thus power. Like, they have done everything, like the propaganda that about the US. Now, I looks like that in India, the left has condemned already, that our left parties and everyone has condemned. And in US, there are mainstream media also, they are saying that they are already against US, sorry, against the Trump. So they are running their narrative that Trump has invaded and all that. But I look like that US left is in dilemma, because if they say that they are going against the president of the United States, so they will show the weakness of US. But left has already always, especially the United States of America left, that they praise America a lot about their strength, about their power, that they have certain, like, वो एक proud feel करते हैं, और एक घमंड भी है कि भाई यार, we are the United States of America. So how left will react in this?
You're saying the US left. See, I think even before such an action was taken, there would have been a bipartisan understanding among the political parties in US. So it is not about I mean, outrightly political gains ke liye they can come out and speak certain things about the action was not right or whatever. But I think US has had a history of doing things like this. So I don't think the left will come and criticize what Trump has done, because there must have been, as I said, a collective understanding of why an action needs to be taken. And and because it is not a sudden action taken on one day, the sanctions were already going on. I mean, it was even before Trump came to power, the sanctions were in force, right? So I mean, already US, you know attitude towards Venezuela, or their view of Venezuela, was completely of a negative tone. So what has happened today probably was expected much earlier than what has happened today, from the US perspective. So I don't think it's going to be a complete negation of what Trump has done. Yet, I mean, there would be certain voices, sane voices in America, which will question the audacity of the things that has happened and the way things have processed. Probably that would be a discussion, a public discourse that will crop up in US. And they would also be, I mean, some of them will also be really pushing for an open discussion on this. I think from the other countries' perspective, probably Russia, China may also force a debate on this in UN forums, because I mean, eventually, even if they are the part of this elite club, they are not the part of this action outrightly. So they would push this into a, a larger discussion of countries of how we need to stop this kind of an action, because that would also impact them directly. I mean, it impacts Russia directly. It also impacts China's ambition of taking over Taiwan, especially militarily, if that is what China does eventually. So I think China would want to push that into a larger debate among the countries to to really make it very clear whether this action is condemnable or acceptable, or there needs to be an adjustment to whatever has happened.
Absolutely, ma'am. And actually, I was just looking at it. So Actually, my last question was actually I'm forgetting because I was looking into something. Okay, I see. If you have any question, then after I will go for it.
नहीं नहीं, मेरा तो मोरलेस मेरा तो अब यही है कि एक अगेन एक कंट्रोवर्शियल था मेरा व्यू पॉइंट है कि with this happening I think China might get more adventurous and आप देखोगे वो ताइवान के आगे वो सारे वो जो इनक्लोज करके वो जो डांस करता है अलग अलग अपने सबमरीन ये सब करके वो पोर्शन करता है आई थिंक इट्स गोइंग टू इंक्रीज एंड देयर मे बी अ चांस दैट दे मे मेरा जो व्यू पॉइंट है कि if Xi Jinping's economic vision or whatever what he's trying to do does not make any changes in China and if the economy continues to flatline, I won't say flatline, but जिस हिसाब से historical growth हुई थी नहीं होगी and people start getting frustrated, he might do this adventure of doing the same thing with Taiwan because to stay in power the easiest thing to do is to create a war, right? और वो ताइवान का invasion करेगा. That is my view. Okay, people may disagree with it, but if that happens, the question is: will US come there? Will Japan come there? Will the other nations come there who are anyway sick and tired of जैसे वियतनाम हो गया अब वो 9 dash line वाले सारे ही लोग जितने भी हैं, will they go against Taiwan? I think मैंने गीता जी से बात करी थी and I think आपने ही बोला था कि there are two factions there. One which obviously is against the unification, and the other there are a group of people who actually don't mind the unification because they have business interests there. उनका काफी investment भी है. वो कहते हैं कि भाई we don't find any problems there. China काफी advance कर चुका है and we can have some kind of a quasi government something like जो हांगकांग के पास है. We keep our autonomy. उनका तो हांगकांग की currency भी अभी भी चलती है and we can do that way. So let's see. I know गीता जी का व्यू पॉइंट है कि China wants peaceful unification, but अब ये वेनेजुएला का हो गया. गीता जी, do you change your position or you're still on the same
उनके
position?
प्राइम मिनिस्टर को उठा लिया, पता चला आज रात में ही।
तो
No,
नहीं,
I'm
अगर
of
ये भी
this.
वो करे
I'm still of the opinion that China would want to create, the same posturing of peaceful reunification, so as to be the leader as an example of how things can be negotiated through dialogue and through peaceful means. If it really wants to challenge the supremacy of US, this is the alternative for China. And if it doesn't succeed in that and it goes for an outright war, um, I don't think then China has any say among other countries, especially the neighboring countries who already feel threatened by China's rise.
China,
So then
yes.
China threat theory will become more solidified for other countries to look at China as a rogue state which can behave in any facets it wants. But of course, we can have a larger discussion on this China-Taiwan thing because there are multiple issues starting from historical perspective to present day, which defines how the mainland China and Taiwan relations, rest at.
ROC
Agree.
versus PC, हाँ,
And
इसको टाइटल यही रखेंगे, ROC versus
ROC
PC,
Yeah,
versus PRC.
Republic
absolutely.
of
Okay,
China
ma'am.
and
Yeah,
People's Republic of
sorry, I have a last question for you. After seeing this, can we say that Putin has made a mistake in 2022?
Mistake of what?
Like he has
invading.
done the same way which US did, that to direct enter in the Kiev and take out the operation and
No, see,
Zelensky को उठा लेता.
let's not confuse about how Russia behaved and what US behaved and what China might behave. Okay. The difference is that, see, what US has done today is literally going against on international laws and defying all these sovereignty issues of a state, right? Why Russia is different is because it had an imminent threat, a clear indication of NATO's expansion, which Zelensky was wanting to accept. Okay, and there were reports about other things about nuclear arsenals being kept by the US and all of that stuff, and the even biowarfare thing, which was really came out in all of these discussions. uh, for Russia to act against Ukraine is an issue which we need to dissect from the larger issue of supremacy of a state and the leadership position a state is kept in, which is US. Okay, in terms of China, I think it's a completely odd picture, because it is only talking about reunification. As I said, if it does not behave, if it behaves in a violent manner, a military action, then it loses the opportunity of becoming an idle leader. But if it does not behave like an violent in violent action or in a military adventure, then it would be able to set a new example, a new model for governance. So I think that is where China's dilemma lies. So it is not that China can't do it. It is about whether China would want to do it or not, because that is the opportunity lost for China if it really engages in a military action.
Absolutely. Now, ma'am, we have this Trump statement that Trump has said he has a very good relationship with the Chinese president. They will get the oil. We will let people have the oil. This is what Trump said.
So I just mentioned when as he was saying, I just said that they already have an understanding with the Chinese, but the problem is not about this understanding, whether the countries will accept the action or not. I mean, it is whether they would push that, because as I said, it is going to push the change or the transformation that has been churning for years about the
Yes,
multipolarity of the global order.
तो मैं
absolutely.
मेरे को
Absolutely,
रशिया का
ma'am.
एक ही चीज बोलना है. आई एग्री विद एवरीथिंग यू सेड. देयर इज अनदर थिंग व्हिच वाज दी वो डॉनबास और ये सब एरियाज में देयर इज अ साइजेबल रशियन पॉपुलेशन, और उनके साथ ये
Yeah.
आफ्टर क्राइमिया, क्राइमिया में भी तो हरकतें करते ही थे, मतलब उनको सेकंड हैंड ट्रीटमेंट देते
Hmm.
थे, बट आफ्टर एनेक्सेशन ऑफ क्राइमिया उनके साथ तो बहुत ज्यादा ही इनह्यूमन ट्रीटमेंट करने लग गए थे. एंड इट वाज
Yes.
डॉक्यूमेंटेड इवन बाय द यूक्रेनीज, राइट,
Yes.
कि बहुत गंदा
Yes.
ट्रीटमेंट कर रहे हैं. एंड मतलब तो दैट वाज आल्सो अनदर पिसिंग ऑफ पॉइंट फॉर ये पुतिन, कि भाई एट द एंड ऑफ द डे अगर आप देखो ना, यूएसएसआर, सॉरी, ये पुतिन स्टिल बिलीव्स इन दैट ग्रेट यूएसएसआर, वो वाला जो है, ही स्टिल वांट समथिंग सिमिलर. वो यूक्रेनीज को अपने ही लोग समझता है. अदरवाइज देखो, वो उसमें तो बहुत सारे बॉम्ब गिरा दिए होते अभी तक. वो उसने नहीं कर रहा बिकॉज ही स्टिल बिलीव्स कि यूक्रेनीज आर एट द एंड ऑफ द डे देयर ओन पीपल. कल्चर का जो हब था वो मॉस्को और पीटर्सबर्ग, पीटर्सबर्ग में कह लूंगा थोड़ी हद तक, बट वो आपका कीव और ये था, आपके जो काफी बड़े एमिनेंट स्कॉलर और ये सब था, वो बहुत बड़ा कल्चरल हब था आपका कीव. तो उस उधर का एक है,
Yeah.
बहुत बड़ी हिस्ट्री भी है. यार वो याद रखता है. वो पुतिन भूलता नहीं है, पुतिन को वो याद है.
Hmm.
एंड ही डजंट कंसिडर यूक्रेनीज एज समबडी एल्स. वो उसको एक अंडर द ओल्ड यूएसएसआर का ही है, वो ओल्ड गार्ड. ही स्टिल कंसिडर्स ऑल दीज स्टेट्स टू बी वन, एंड एक वो ग्रेटर रशिया का वो एक्सटेंडेड आर्म भी समझता. सो द वॉर इज डिफरेंट, एंड दैट्स व्हाई इट्स नॉट, you'll say it's less bloody and more tactile in nature
Hmm.
as compared to the other areas. Otherwise, उसके पास ammunition तो बहुत है. He could have done it much
Hmm.
earlier. ये मेरा viewpoint है, but uh, it
No,
can be
absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to expand on the Russian thing here, because then
हम्म,
that would be very controversial
वो
and
तो
very
बड़ा ही
long
है. हाँ.
debate. Yeah,
हम्म,
we didn't want to stretch there. But you are absolutely right. I mean, there these issues which I also saw some of these videos and some of these discussions which
हम्म,
came out during Russia Ukraine, and probably the idea of Russia's invasion was not, I mean, whether we want to put it as Russian invasion or not, that's one point. But the action which Russia took was not of the time and scale it has stretched to. I mean, that was not the
हाँ,
intention. So, I mean,
correct, correct.
again, all of these are much more larger issues that we can keep on discussing. But I think today we want to just focuses on
Yeah.
US thing,
So,
and that's it. And then there.
Master Chief has written, US has the best delivery system. You guys are freedom delivery system. You guys are jealous. देखो यार, whichever nation US has touched, Midas touch, it has never got freedom. It has only disintegrated.
Hmm.
आप tell me one nation, ठीक है? And I can go not the Gulf nations, Afghanistan. I will tell you, they created the country of Panama. It did not exist. Why? They
Hmm.
wanted to control the Panama Canal. उन्होंने they created a country because of that. ये ठीक है, it's a public platform, but
Okay,
US,
guys.
it is difficult to
Uh,
be. It is very dangerous to be a friend of US. It has never gone in your favor. That's what I have seen.
okay, guys. I have to leave now because some
Okay,
emergency came up. So
no problem.
thank
Let's
you.
end the
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, you can continue. So thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me with me, and please subscribe my YouTube channel also. You are thank you for following on X and watching on IC also. 344 viewers. Thank you, guys. I am taking a leave, and IC and Geeta ma'am will continue from here. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Then we'll also wrap up in the next two
No,
three
we'll
minutes.
all the way wrap up. Yeah. Yeah.
हाँ नहीं पर इसका अगर आप देखो ना गीता मैम, if you got 5 minutes, because मैं एक बड़ा भी interesting है तो because whichever nation the US has touched, right? First of all, either it has got something to do with oil, ठीक है? It has
Yeah.
oil जहां पर भी होएगा, they reach. Not just US. What people forget, ये there used to be the two naughty brothers. One was the US and the other was UK. You
Hmm.
remember the Swiss Canal issue which happened, right?
Hmm.
वो क्यों हुआ था? Because उनको they used to get cheaper oil ना through that, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then they did. US became smart. उन्होंने पनामा कैनाल में पहले ही, what was the country जिसको तोड़ के बनाए? Which country को पनामा किसको तोड़ के बनाया? I don't want to quote the wrong thing. Whichever, so somebody can write on that. So they created a whole country because of that, right? And took a lease of 99 years. Now they have given the Panama Canal back, but they have altered their constitution saying that if there is an attack on Panama Canal or you stop the passage, it will be considered as an invasion on US. अब
Hmm.
देख लो. This 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 is US. I think from an Indian perspective, I think India should learn very fast, and the faster we become self-reliant, it is better. The only country which I really admire on this scale, which is at a first world country, is France. France developed its own nuclear tech. France developed its own aircraft. France has its own machinery, which is in conjunction with NATO. आप देख लो, France has one of the fastest missiles as well. In the top 10, France is number third or third, I think. The fastest
Hmm.
missile, like in Minuteman 3, they also have one of those in this one. So they have developed all the tech, and they are not dependent on US, right? They are
Hmm.
not dependent on US. They did not buy F-35s. They are sticking with Rafales, but they are now developing the sixth generation, but they did not buy a fifth generation. I don't think they have any F-35. They did not. So उन्होंने अपना independent रखा है, and I really respect them for that. And they are one of the
Hmm.
leaders in even in the nuclear fuel business when it comes to creating new nuclear these nuclear power plants. They are considered one of the leaders in that as well. And I think India also has tied up with them also for a few of the nuclear plants. Colombia, thank you, thank you. Thank you, sir. Somebody has written Colombia. Call yourself as democracy, act like the dictator of the world. Yeah, that's true. And Colombia was the country of this. Anyway, Geeta ma'am, if you have any last things to say, because we can then continue on different topics next time, because it'll be very interesting. Because your knowledge is quite vast, it's always good to tap into your knowledge areas. And this, I always learn from you. But
No, see,
if we, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying about what you made a point about US and UK. I mean, UK is again. I mean, we all know we have suffered 200 years of
Mhm,
colonial rule under UK, the
mhm.
imperial state. I think US has been even able to, put the UK down in terms of creating the unipolar world, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
so you really need to understand that US UK relation as well. I mean, having said that, okay, UK was also a very powerful imperial state. I mean, it really flourished. It controlled many states. It mm, created colonies across the globe, including India. But yet, I mean, when the world was changing into a, a bipolar world and then to a unipolar world, where was UK? Nowhere. So, I mean, the relationship that even with US, UK could create or have it today is also a very dicey position in which UK feels very weak and humble to accept whatever the hegemonic state tries to do.
Mhm,
That is one
mhm.
thing. Second thing, I think you are absolutely right for India, that India needs to expedite the development of defense technologies, expedite the manufacturing of its defense industry, and scale up the exports of defense, uh,
What about
arms and
privatize,
ammunition.
privatize, privatize the defense industry to a more scale than what they have not been doing? And they have started opening up, but I still believe it's too low. They need to have more strategic partners. The US ka to pura defense system is private, right? And
Yes.
and we need to give that trust to at least some of the companies, because it's too much of a burden on DRDO and the इनके जो है, and especially जो इनका, you know, I'll give you a statistics. There are more number of deaths, which at least in the last 10 years, which have happened due to faulty ammunition than actual on the ground with the forces fighting. वो faulty आपका ये artillery blast हो जाते हैं because of the faulty घटिया सा जो ये ammunition, ये आपका ये क्या, what is that, जो कैलकाटा में हेड ऑफिस होता था उसका, what is that, the जो इनका arms and ammunition का जो था, so and
Yes.
नाउ इन्होंने उसको 5 में डिवाइड या कर दिया, 5 या 6 में डिवाइड करके कर दिया है, बट but it is sad to see that if our own jawans are dying, and and there is no accountability, that you have no robust quality checks. I think around 8 or 9 years back, I had heard this story that around 64 crores of faulty ammunition, which was got from these guys, was destroyed by the Indian army because it was so bad. So it was destroyed because. But again, was any Babu sacked in Calcutta? No. So that was the sad part. So we need to have that set of accountability as well.
No, I mean, accountability is one factor, which of course the government is working, but there are two things which the government is really functioning on today. One is the PPP model, the
Hmm.
public-private partnership model,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is already, in the process of doing that. And second thing is about, joint forces. I mean, that is one of the visions on which this government is working, which is very tough to create, because I mean, a system as you're comparing with US, or even with China, they have the joint service, way of dealing. So
yeah.
suppose they need to, attack, say for example what happened in Operation Sindoor. It would be a coordinated, action, rather than just, isolated in silos. Every,
Yes.
army is working in silos and air force is working in silos. So we need that kind of, tri service joint operations. And that is where I think tri services, unification of that sort is in the process, which definitely will redefine, of course, the accountability factor. Also, it will define the quality of, the arms and ammunitions that are
Mhm.
existing, that are being imported, as well as that are being innovated and created. you know so building above all of these would be then under one, structurally under one
सेंट्रल
command.
कमांड, या
Yeah.
सेंट्रल कमांड वन, उसका उसका
Yes.
उसका जो मैंने लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स बैक जब मैंने देखा था, तो उसमें एयरफोर्स वाज हेजिटेंट,
Yes.
उनका थोड़ा आ रहा था. आई एम नॉट श्योर व्हाट इज द करंट स्टेटस ऑफ कितना हुआ है, बट दे वर टोल्ड कि देयर इज नो ऑप्शन, यू हैव टू, बट एयरफोर्स वाज
Yes.
रेजिस्टिंग एट दैट
Yes.
पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. Maybe things have changed
Yes.
after Operation Sindoor, and they all have एयरफोर्स का अब थोड़ा, एयरफोर्स का थोड़ा अब ज्यादा हो गया है ना. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर और ऑल एयरफोर्स ड्रिवन, तो उनके पास थोड़ा बोलने का ज्यादा वो माइट आ गया होगा. तो आई डोंट नो व्हाट इट इज, बट आई एज ऑफ नाउ, मेरा लैक ऑफ नॉलेज हो सकता है, पीपल कैन करेक्ट मी. अभी हमारा जो जॉइंट सेंट्रल कमांड है वो कितना एक्टिव है, कितना है, मेरे को आई एम नॉट फुली श्योर, बट इफ यू हैव एनी इंफॉर्मेशन, वी विल नॉट गेट इनटू डिटेल, but that's a whole subject altogether. Is now that completely active in line with जो चाइना का है, जो यूएस का है, और we still work in progress है?
No, no, we're still in work in progress. It's not
That's
exactly
what I
what
thought.
the US and China had, because I
Mhm.
mean, starting from what we created as a position of CDS, this is a work in progress for past few years now. But as you rightly said, I mean, there are structural problems in creating a new structure. So it needs to be
Mhm.
refined, and that refining
Right.
is not very easy. You know, it's understanding, working, coordination, and then mobility of personals, um, who
Yeah.
will be in hierarchy, who would be above whom,
Exactly. The reporting
then
structure. Yeah.
reporting structures, everything has to be redefined. So it's a
Yeah.
structural issue which takes time, and it is in the process. It's not that it's not being done. It's just gradually, with a lot of negotiations with all the stakeholders, discussions, committees are being formed. Some people have already given very good suggestions of how that can be expedited, and it's already being done. It's just a matter of time now.
Let's hope for the best, because इसमें तो मैं बहुत लंबा
Yeah.
चौड़ा, I want to have a detailed discussion with you at some point of time, because मेरा एक बहुत fundamental questions है इसमें, अभी नहीं करेंगे, because कि what will be the percentage of each forces, will it be डिप्लॉयमेंट एरिया टाइप्स, कि कहाँ पर किसका
Hmm.
ज्यादा डोमिनेंस रहेगा, किसका नहीं रहेगा. से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हिमालय हो, वहां पर इफ यू आर यूजिंग मोर ऑफ एयर फोर्स, विल दे हैव अ मोर कंट्रोल एरिया, और विल इट बी, who will be, because army wants their person to be heading it. बेचारा
Hmm.
वो हमारे वो जो मेरीन वाले, वो तो बेचारे कुछ बोलते भी नहीं, वो तो चुपचाप ही बैठे रहते. सो देयर इज अ टसल बिटवीन टू, एटलीस्ट टू ऑफ दीज एरियाज. हाउ आर दे प्लानिंग टू सॉल्व इट? फिर अगेन जो हमारे फर्स्ट सीडीएस थे, उनके उनका जो हेलीकॉप्टर भी गिरा, वो मैन्युफैक्चर्ड था या वो एक्चुअली एक एक्सीडेंट था? दैट इज आल्सो अप फॉर डिबेट. क्योंकि यार जो भी हमारे कोई काम अच्छा करने लग जाता है, वो साइंटिस्ट हो या कुछ हो, या तो वो उसका पेट खराब हो जाता है और वो मर जाता है, या तो उसका प्लेन गिर जाता है. वो होमी बाबा का देख लो, आई बिलीव वो तो इनका फर्स्ट वो सीआईए या जो भी है, मतलब कोई तो, दैट देयर इज अ ओपन सेइंग दैट that plane was sabotaged to crash, because if Homi Baba would have lived for another 10 more years, we would have gone nuclear much earlier than what we
Hmm.
did. The whole
I've
thing
heard that
took a
story. Yeah.
setback. Yeah, yeah. अब वो theory भी है, but there are too many coincidences, and we can then take out a whole list of our top scientists who have mysteriously died or have gone into honey trap. अब honey trap का तो खैर मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा, वो तो खैर वो persons का वो ही है. But ये हुए हैं, हमारे काफी सारे साइंटिस्ट मिस्टीरियसली मरे हैं, lethal poisoning से भी मरे हैं. And I would also want to explore कि ये इसमें यूएसएसआर का भी कितना हाथ था, बिकॉज यूएसएसआर हैड अ वेरी बिग हैंड in whole of this. It can even, we can even talk about जो हमारे एक प्रधानमंत्री भी जो मरे थे, जिनके ऊपर पूरी मूवी भी बनी थी, जो यूएसएसआर में मरे थे, वो who was behind it, वो भी एक थ्योरी है. आई डोंट थिंक वो यूएसएसआर में बिहाइंड था, बिकॉज उन्होंने तो अटॉप्सी भी करी थी और उन्होंने एक रिपोर्ट भी भेजी थी, बट अगेन दैट इज डिस्कशन फॉर सम अदर डे. हमने
Yes,
already we are 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and we have 381 people.
absolutely,
Geeta ji, you're very popular.
absolutely.
You're very popular. Anything you want to say for the
Oh wow.
final last words? Hmm?
आपके चैनल पर no, I
नहीं,
think, I mean, because we were discussing about US only, so I think
नहीं.
we need to really look forward to the kind of changes and transformations that are going to happen this year across globe. We have to look into how the BRICS are going to, function, how the new, regional alliances are going to be built. That should be the
Mhm.
focus, apart from what
Yeah,
US has been
yeah,
doing. Yeah.
yeah. Especially our regional alliances, and how we are going to mend the ways with our neighbors. Is it with
Yeah.
love or is it with stick?
Mm,
That needs to be seen, and especially in terms of Bangladesh, and especially
mm,
what is happening on the minorities there. With every passing day, the videos are coming very horrific. And what is the government's plan of action? And why if a lot of people say why can't we do something similar like this, and why it may not be a good idea, and why government is holding back. इस पे भी एक लंबा discussion करेंगे, because बांग्लादेश
mm,
का तो करते ही रहते हैं, but lot of people have been asking कि why we can't do a surgical strike there, or just
mm,
send our army, because छोटा nation है, इतना कोई retaliate
mm,
कर भी नहीं सकता. And why we can't, why the government has not done it, तो इसको भी एक
mm,
onion की तरह भी dissect it,
mm.
but another time. Geeta ji, thank you so much. Dinesh had to go early, but that is fine. And जो भी है यार, please like, subscribe Dinesh's channel and his YouTube. Geeta ji ka I will, before we go, I will post Geeta ji ka जो Twitter का account है. She's quite active there. I would recommend ki please subscribe to her channel as well. There is a lot of good stuff she continuously posts, and ये काफी जवाब भी दे देती है, अगर इनसे सवाल पूछो अच्छा वाला, अच्छा पूछोगे तो she might reply. उठ पटांग सा पूछोगे तो बड़ा बड़ा फिर जूतों वाला जवाब भी आ जाएगा. हाँ, गीता मैम बहुत खतरनाक है. फिर कम बैक नहीं कर पाओगे तुम. So please be respectful, and especially if you want to discuss something, I send it to Dinesh. Or you can just tweet it to Geeta ma'am, saying that I would love to know your thoughts on this, and we can then arrange it. We come
Yeah.
here. ये intention है कि यार आपको क्या सुनना है. Geeta ma'am with a wealth of knowledge. Please, आप अपना सवाल पूछो, and if Geeta ma'am thinks that she has the domain knowledge on that area, we'll pick it up again. And with that,
And otherwise,
we
आपके
will.
spaces भी तो बहुत अच्छे होते हैं. I mean, you can always come to their
I
spaces. I
don't
think your
record.
spaces are like,
चलो आपने बोला है तो काफी लोग मेरे से पूछते भी है कि आई डोंट रिकॉर्ड बाय स्पेसेस, क्योंकि ना स्पेसेस में लोग डर जाते हैं. अगर रिकॉर्ड का बटन होता ना, वो बड़े तमीजदार हो जाते हैं. उनको लगता है कि उनके ऊपर डंडा ना पड़ जाए. तो देन दैट ओपन जो होता है ना, मतलब वो people are not that open, so I deliberately don't record, though sometimes I regret. कभी कभी बहुत अच्छे discussions हो जाते हैं, and we should be recording it, but I prefer it that way. Ki let it.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes,
हाँ,
I mean, hesitancies come when you are, into that. I mean, even if it is an open space, anybody can join
हम्म,
and listen. But once you say, it is recorded, then people feel like, oh, it's going to be you know, some kind of
हाँ, हाँ, वो
evidence
मेरे को.
created sort of thing. Yeah.
हाँ, हाँ, एग्जैक्टली, वो अलग बात है. नीचे से कोई स्क्रीन रिकॉर्ड कर ही रहा होता है, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग ऑलरेडी.
Mm-hmm.
पर मैं नहीं करता, बिकॉज वो फिर आई वांट पीपल टू कम एंड बी फ्री. हाँ, वैसे अगर गीता मैंने बोला है कि जनरली हमारी स्पेसेस चलती रहती है. एंड
Mm-hmm.
फॉर दोज हु डोंट नो, अगर वो यूट्यूब पे देख रहे हैं, Twitter Spaces is a very active platform where you'll actually find a lot of interesting people from all
Yes.
realms, scientists, politicians, and that's why I prefer being more on Twitter Spaces than other places, because you never know whom you will bump into. You might find big
Mm-hmm.
politicians also coming and hosting spaces, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times your political parties. Just the other day, I saw. I saw Teju Bhaiya and his sister in some space. किसी ने मुझे लिंक भेजा
Yeah,
था.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember. Teju Bhaiya and his sister were in some space. तो भाई, I'm a big admirer of Teju Bhaiya. मेरे को पता नहीं था. So I would have gone. अरे तेजू भैया इज रॉक स्टार. गीता जी इज रॉक स्टार. तेजू भैया अगर किसी दिन मुझे मिल जाए तो मैं उनको इंटरव्यू के लिए बुला लूंगा. आपने देखा तेजू भैया का एक बारी किसी ने इंटरव्यू करने की कोशिश की थी, तेजू भैया ने उसी का इंटरव्यू कर दिया, वो भाग गया. I'll send you that thing. But that's again offline discussion. With that, we'll end it. Thank you, everybody. I will give you. It is 396. By the time we end, it will cross 400. Geeta ma'am, very popular. The stats speak for themselves. Thank you, everybody,
Uh,
and
Thank you,
till we
everyone.
meet.
Namaste to everyone. Yeah.
Let me end the stream. And 1 second.